Today, let's have a look at some bent arm press handstand entries to handstand, like so. Now, probably the easiest one to attack this from, or direction to attack it from, is the crow to handstand. So have that seesaw type movement up. But once you've got the understanding of that, where the head and shoulders come down, the hips come up, and then we push at the right time, use that slight underbalance to help us up. We can do exactly the same thing, but without using the arms. So I just need to get the timing or the position right before I go. So if I try and do it, say here, and have the hands forwards, you can see that that is physically impossible to get my legs off the floor. But if I just shift the hands backwards, external rotation of the hands, and then take the head and shoulders down more, lift the bar up a little bit more, while also leaning forwards, there'll be a point where there's enough weight in front to counterbalance what's behind. So there. Now I can just keep going up and over, which is exactly the same as that crow to handstand. So I can work on that once I've got it to go up, obviously to do repetitions, or I can start to make it harder. Now the reason the way I can make it harder is just extend the lever arms out a little bit more. So I still start in that same position where I need to have the hands in the middle of the center of mass, and then extend both things out. So head and shoulders out and legs out. So from here, legs out, head out a little bit more, and then it takes me up. Now you could do this with the hands raised slightly, which would allow you to have a bit more of a counterbalance on the front side by scooping the head down and lower, which then picks the hips and the legs up. In some ways it makes it harder because then you're pushing out of a deficit. But let's stick with this version today on the floor. So there's pros and cons of using that elevated surface. So all we'll do is now see if we can open out a little bit further. Now when you're opening out, I wouldn't go backwards in terms of the legs. I'd go out and backwards. So a bit more like a straddle position. The downside of going too straddly is it can take the hip up in a pike position, but think that you're trying to extend the legs while keeping the hips as flat as possible. And again, you might want to play around with the distance of the hands to create space that feels good, but also strong. So out and up. See, that had a bit of a high hip position. And then the other thing we can play with as well as extending out is tempo. So I can start to put either a little bit of a pause in or just slow the movement down a little bit more, which tends to make it harder, but you can then fine tune the balance point or the weight distribution in the moment when you've got a little bit more time. When things are happening fast, it can spit you out to the front and the back without you knowing what's going on. So let's just see if we can pause it a little bit. And then go. That wasn't that paused. Hard to talk and do this at the same time. One of the reasons I'm not doing the eccentrics, but you could do eccentrics on the back end of it. You could also start from the top, come down, more like a 90-degree handstand push-up, pause for a second, go back up, slowly opening the body out. The other thing you'll see me start to do now, we're going to go into harder positions, is I'm going to arch the body up as I come up. Ideally, you would keep the body in like a hollow or a dead straight line and come up. That's just much, much harder to do it that way. It needs a lot more perfection in terms of the position and the skill and more strength. So let's try and open it up a little bit more. You can see there, I'm pausing to try and find enough strength and positioning to get me up, which I've done, but it makes it look a little bit clunky. And obviously you can just keep continuing it out towards that 90-degree handstand push-up position where you're getting more or less in a straight body position, then pushing up. Again, look, I'm doing it super slow, but that's the way I find it easier. And it looks pretty ugly, but I get up. But number one, make sure that crow to handstand's really strong. If you need help with your crow to handstand, check out this video. And if you have requests for other videos, stick them down below. Check out my website for coaching options and my app, and I'll speak to you guys in the next one.